Alright, welcome back to a new video. I haven't made a video in so long. Anyways, the reason why I haven't made a video in so long is because I'm struggling to find a good topic to talk about. Not because it's because I have nothing to talk about. Not because I have nothing to say, you know? I struggle to find it's not that I have nothing to talk about, but rather there are things to talk about, but I just can't you know what I'm saying? It requires some thinking to find interesting topics, and I just can't seem to find any. You know, I've already talked about a lot of things in my live streams, in my past videos. I'm thinking of a new topic. Anyways, this topic came to mind. You know, I'm gonna talk about sensitivity in this video. You know, we're gonna delve a bit into sensitivity because this is all, triggered by a post that I saw. The reason behind this is because, I saw a post by a dating YouTuber. I don't want to mention the name, but he said you should never be friends, right? We should never be friends with someone who's easily offended. Now, this is a superficial take, in my opinion, right? I'm gonna delve into the reasons why that is. Anyway, so there are people who've been replying. One of them says that the problem is the lack of control, not being sensitive. He says that they usually correlate. They never met a sensitive person, right? Who's aware, right? And this is what I disagree, right? There are different perspectives. Some people, another person talks about, that sensitivity signals deep insecurity and this and that. And then this person that was talking about control, talking about differentiating between awareness and suppression. Right? Now, this is what I have to say. This is a value judgment. When you say that this matters more than this, or this matters more than this. For example, if you say that, not being sensitive matters more. Or, for example, being aware matters more. This is a value judgment. It depends. It's subjective, right? And it's subjective at best. Now, the thing about this is that sensitivity is not being offended. Sensitivity is about the baseline emotional load. If you define sensitivity, it's basically the baseline emotional load. And I would personally say it's like the internal initial reaction, right? Emotional reaction to something. Whereas being offended is more about the reaction, right? Because being offended is a reaction to that. So it's different. The sensitivity is partially controllable, but not fully controllable. Right? It's internal. That's sensitivity. It's the baseline emotional load. Right? It's partially controllable. It's partially genetic. Right? It's partially controllable through, through training, but there are biological constraints. Not everyone can train their system the same way. So there's always some people who would struggle to control it, right? And there is also biological constraint in terms of fatigue, non-perfect awareness, and etc. So there is fatigue, there is non-perfect awareness, and there is also inability to obtain full control. You cannot have full control. We are not machines, right? So we can't do something perfectly. Even if you know the strategy, you cannot execute it perfectly. That's the thing. In most cases. Even if you manage to do in games, for example, like Tic-Tac-Toe, where the perfect strategy is known and the game is simple enough that it is executable by humans. Another problem arises, which is the perfect consistency, the perfect execution of the perfect strategy every single time, which is not possible due to human constraint, again, due to mental fatigue, due to physical fatigue, due to loss of concentration. Loss of focus, etc. So you get the idea, right? Now back to the sensitivity. Since it's partially controllable, then it's not really a problem. The problem is not really with high sensitivity or low sensitivity. It's not high sensitivity is not inherently a problem. The problem arises when the high sensitivity is combined with poor awareness and poor emotional regulation. It can be a problem in this case because if you are highly sensitive and you don't have good awareness, You don't know like the reasons that made you feel that sensitive, why that is. You don't reflect on those reasons. Are they significant? Are they not? Do they deserve for me to have such a reaction or not? You get what I'm saying? I mean, this unconscious, ignorance, it can lead to problems. It can lead to overreactions if not examined. It can lead to reactions, this overreaction, like for example, anger, frustration. It can lead you into conflict with other people. They might perceive you in a negative way. You might also react negatively. You get what I'm saying? So the problem is that with the lack of awareness. Yeah, this is from one part. It can lead to that. Yeah, sometimes it can lead to that. But also if there is like a lack of emotional regulation, because if one tries to control and stabilize his emotions, even though sometimes there are outbursts, because you cannot have perfect control as a human, so this is part of the human imperfection. So there is, I mean, different people, they control, even with training, they control to different degrees, like this control and stability, which constitute like this emotional regulation. But with like good emotional regulation training can increase, like, you know what I'm saying, can increase control, right? Over the reactions. Can increase the control over the reactions, and this can lead to like better results. The problem is that even if you control the external reactions, what about the internal? We're talking about the intense anger, the intense frustration, right? Like for example, in the internal, even if you don't show it, it's still like stressing you out if you suppress it. Different people cope in different ways, right? Some people, they talk to other people to ease up their situations. They express themselves. They ask for help. Some like are fine with suppressing their stuff. They don't want to share their nothing concerning them, either because they think it's secretive, it's concerning them, or they think that they think other people like it's none of their business, right? Why should they tell other people? You get what I'm saying? And they might think also that they aren't going to help in any type of way. And that applies to, and that's sometimes true for most people, in a lot of complex situations, because they lack experience, they give this shallow advice, this imprecise advice, this rehearsed advice. Anyway, so that's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, so this is the problem with if we have a high emotion, like high sensitivity combined with good awareness and good emotional regulation, it can lead to higher empathy. It can lead to good results, higher empathy towards people who need it. You get what I'm saying? So it's not always a problem. For example, if you see someone like, what can I say, like he's struggling to do something, to walk, or he's, someone who's poor, like who's asking for change, and all that. You might help them because of that high awareness. You're aware of the situation that they are in. You're aware, like, and try to put yourself in the same situation, right? You're aware of the struggles they are facing, right? Maybe like food struggles, emotional struggles, right? Depression and all of that, psychological problems. You're aware of that, so you try to take the initiative and help them. So in this case, like, high sensitivity can actually be a good thing because it helps you. It helps with awareness. When there is high sensitivity, awareness becomes easier. It becomes easier to identify, right? To examine the situation. And on the other hand, low sensitivity is not inherently good, because it can lead to low empathy. If there is poor emotional regulation, and there is poor emotional regulation, and there is like poor awareness, right? It can lead to bad consequences. We're gonna give the same result of the poor person. If you don't have like low awareness, you don't reflect on the situation of these people, you are not sensitive, you don't have like initial strong reactions to these people, then if you're not reflecting on that, then it could lead to low empathy, which can sometimes be bad, Not objectively bad, because like I'm someone who believes in strategic morality. Like, I think that morality depends on vulnerability, on human vulnerability and interdependence. And once you transcend the human vulnerability, it's no longer an obligation, because it's no longer necessary, it's rather a choice. So it's more of a strategic choice than an objective fact to say that a moral is good or bad, you know, or to treat someone a specific way. But and I say, given vulnerability, sometimes it's necessary to think in that, to think in the lanes of empathy, you know, because you might sometimes be a victim, you might be sometimes be put in the same spot, and you will ask for help as well. So, you know, if I mean, in most cases, like I mean, like you should give what you expect, you know. So that's the thing. So low regulation, I mean, low sensitivity, if combined with good awareness and good emotional regulation, you know, even if you don't feel strong initial reactions, you know, you can like increase those what can I say? Amplify those emotional reactions, you know. Maybe on purpose, you know, you have some control over them, so you can take initiative. But you don't need to do that as long as you have awareness, I think, in my opinion. So that's the thing. High sensitivity combined with poor awareness and poor emotional regulation can lead to bad results. Also, the same for low low sensitivity combined with poor awareness. Yeah, and poor emotional regulation. So that's the thing. Right? Did I rephrase this correctly? Yeah, I think, yeah. But some people would argue that the ideal is between both, having like moderate sensitivity, you know, having like emotional regulation is not always controllable, right? So this also depends on the context, like how sensitive you are also depends on the context in which sense. It depends on the genes, it depends on the hormonal influence, gender, yeah, to low moderate, there's a low moderate correlation, right? So it depends on a lot of things. So it's part of the personality. If we define personality as the sum of traits and character and tendencies of a person, then yeah, it's also within personality, which is not a fixed thing. It depends on the context. You know, it depends on the mood. It depends on a lot of variables. We start with tendencies like you know, babies have tendencies. Then they develops into personality with the environment, with the environmental influences, with experiences. You know, way of thinking, right? This could develop into a personality, what we call personality. Though you might see this simplified version of you know, precise. The imprecise description of personality, something that is acquired, but yeah, but this is not like what can I say, this is imprecise. This is if we go by precision, our tendencies that are developed with the environmental influences, with the genetic influences, hormonal influences, you know, the way of thinking and all of that, they develop into a personality, and this personality is not stable, right? It depends on the context, it depends on the mood, it depends on who you're dealing with. And there are a lot of traits, you know, these traits can change over time, so you get what I'm saying? So it's really a complex thing to talk about, right? You cannot really generalize personality into one thing, though there are studies like, what can I study in personality, right? These people tends to do like specific things in most contexts. For example, he tends to be shy in most contexts, therefore he's shy, right? You know, in unfamiliar context, therefore he's shy. And comfortable, nervous in familiar context, therefore he's shy. So it's more of a tendency than a fixed, general, like universal rule. So that's what I'm trying to say. But the problem is that people don't always show what's on their internal. So there is always this deception, and you can't really make a judgment about someone without incomplete information, right? They may display something that is not eternal because not what's internal because they don't want to lower others' expectations. They don't want to get socially excluded, right? And don't want to get discriminated. You know, against extremists, yeah, they may face life-threatening situations. There is danger, you know. So there are a lot of reasons, right? So this is the thing. You get what I'm saying? I mean, we can even go further, like if we have the knowledge, but I don't. Like we can go into the mechanism, why, how, and that is, you know, like. We can go into what can I say, the structural, yeah, this is a higher level of precision, the structural, exactly what determines brain activity, how it determines personality, right? How it's linked to, you get what I'm saying? To personality. Right? So that's what I'm gonna say, you know. So this is my take about sensitivity, about you know, like it's not inherently good or bad. It depends, right? There is precision. Precision is about like detailed accuracy. You know, it's about you know, being precise, like you know, not making vague statements. It's about clarity. Whereas there is like deepness. Deepness is like, or explanatory causation is more about the causes. For example, Earth rotates around the sun because of that, and this happens because of that, and this happens because of that. You can go like practically infinitely depending, you know. So, and when we talk about like maximum precision, maximum theoretical precision, theoretical precision requires a perfect representation, perfect expression, raw expression. If we talk about the expression, it can be like maximum precision in terms of representation. That would require like having full information of the thing and everything that is relative. That's practically omniscience, right? That's basically omniscience, because that's too imaginable. It approaches omniscience, right? Like the degree of knowledge that you need. And there is expression. In terms of expression, the problem with expression is that when you use language, like you compress the information. So it according to the information of theory, like you don't maintain the same level of information. So there is a reduction. What can I say? Like you reduce the information, the degree of information, when you use language and symbols and all of that. So there should be like someone who is like, what can I say, omnipotent in the terms of, not omnipotent in everything, but fully capable of expression, of perfect expression. An entity like they will be able to express fully like this maximum precision, you know, without lowering the precision. You get what I'm saying? Anyways, this is a complex topic. Anyways. Thanks for watching, man. I haven't made a video so long. I have to make these videos to, you know, to keep talking about the topics that interest me, to improve my fluency, you know, my English, right? My expression ability. Anyways, that's what I'm gonna say, man. Thanks for watching, and I'm out. Peace.